This was,
I believe, briefly seen blowing up on Jakku.
Yeah, yes. I was gonna say briefly seen for what, a minute or two at most.
Don't forget to vote, people. I've sent the link in the chat line again. So if you've not voted, you can vote on tonight's 2 build-off lists.
Yeah. As previously stated when we were discussing this, each person gets 2 votes, but you cannot vote for the same commentator. Mm-hmm. You've got a choice between... each of us have got all 3 factions here, so we've all built a Rebel, Scum and Imperial list. You can vote for any of ours, but you can't vote for the same commentator twice. So have fun, and we will see which lists get paired off against each other. And at the moment, it is looking like it's going to be Robin's Rebel list against Maxible's Scum's list.
Although
Max's Imperial list is catching up fast, out of nowhere, from one vote.
Out of nowhere, it just shot up the rankings.
Whereas mine has done the inversely proportional.
There we go. I think we just have another vote shoved in there. That's another one for Robin, I think. But yeah, looking good.
Yeah. I must admit, Elliot, you've done your wonderful magic tonight with that.
Well, thank you to the local people at streampoll.tv who made this lovely program and thought, I like that, I'll use that.
And I like the graph, as most mathematicians do. So right, the Quadjumper, briefly seen for moments in episode 7.
I just love the way it looks. It's this kind of ugly block of a ship in a beautiful way.
According to the fluff, it's a tugboat for space, and it looks like that. It's great.
Speaking of tugboat, have you compared the weights, as Elliot did yesterday, the weights between the packaging of the Quadjumper and the packaging of the TIE Fighter? There is extra weight and bulk behind that Quadjumper. Of course there is.
Look at it. It's just bigger.
It's just
not like
block.
It's not like a... It's not even like one of the sort of the big small based ships. It's just chunky.
It's a chunky small base ship.
It's a solid block of spaceship.
It's 4 engines with just enough cabin space sealed against the vacuum that you don't die inside.
Exactly.
Yes. Oh dear. So right, the Quadjumper. Let's kick these things off. It's got a lot of versatility with its upgrade bar, but we'll
the first thing I'd like to mention is there is not 1, not 2, but 7 rules reference cards in this pack.
Yes, you need them.
I haven't opened one yet, so
it's ridiculous.
Yeah. I think
hand that to me.
The obvious one is for its special maneuver.
The first ship in the game that can fly backwards.
Look at that.
They've actually...
Look at that. You can play around a poker with these guys.
So which one are you going to play tonight, boys? This one.
Full house.
So what this is really saying is that it took until the someone built the Quadjumper for them to invent reverse gear.
Yes, but it is scum.
I'm just going to say, Star Trek Attack was there first.
Fair.
I was also going to follow up by what Chelsea said when she first got wind of it. This is special. You can do something that none of the others can so far. I think we'll put that bracket on it, so if you watch this in the future and something else comes out, that can
I'm sure it will. I mean, the sloop was the Star Viper's thing at first, and now it's everywhere.
Do we have an image of the dial anywhere?
Ooh, that I don't, but I can find one.
No worries. We'll start talking about the pilots while you look. Sorry, Elliot.
That's right.
First of all, we've got our 1 generic pilot. Clocking in at pilot skill 1, we have the Jakku Gunrunner with the standard Quadjumper stat line: 2 attack, 2 agility, 5 hull, 0 shields, focus and barrel roll on its action bar, so no target lock, interestingly. That puts it in a relatively small category of ships. And then it has the crew, bomb, tech and illicit icons. Also making it the first scum ship to have a tech slot.
You just said the word straight out of my mouth there, Robin. I was actually going to say that.
Well,
it's
the
15 points.
Yeah. Whereas the tech slot is for things from the new trilogy era, and this is the first
Scum
have got from the new trilogy era.
That's a good thing to point out, actually, that, because the X-Wings and the Typhos from Episode 7 got tech slots, so only makes sense. There we go. There's the dial.
The red ones there are the backwards manoeuvres, so it can do so on straight and bank.
Yeah.
Also notice that its greens come from speed 2 and up, and that it tops off at speed 3.
I think that's a very deliberate choice, so the ship can't yo-yo backwards and forwards.
Yes, I was thinking exactly the same thing. You can't just go one forward, one back, one forward, one back.
Just take the
forever.
army of Quadjumpers and just wait for them to come to you.
Yes.
The other interesting thing to note is it's got a 1 forward and a 1 hard turn, but no 1 bank. And the explicit reason for that, at least according to something that Alex Davies said on a podcast, is they couldn't fit any more manoeuvres on the dial.
It has got a lot of them.
How many? I was going to say, how many maneuvers is on it? So it's 3 reverse,
Yep.
4 at speed. Sorry, 3 at speed 1, so 6.
Everything at speed 2, which adds...
So it's 5, so it's 11.
11.
2
12,
lots of
13,
signals.
16.
16
possible manoeuvres on this thing.
Jeez.
That's standard for most ships.
16. K-Wings only had about 7.
That's
Yeah, but
K-Wings,
That's
though.
K-Wings for you.
Admittedly, the K-Wing can do it twice.
It's an interesting dial. It's not a hugely fast ship because it caps itself out at speed 3.
I don't mind slow
doesn't
slow
need
ships. I don't mind slow ships.
No, I think it works fine for what it is. And it makes sense. This thing is a utilitarian... It's the space tug.
It is.
It's not designed to be a fighter.
No,
for
it's
power, not for speed.
It's a tugboat.
I'm sorry, I was going to know. We've got a race here. It seems it's Scum and Imperial neck and neck, and it's
your 2 lists, so you might have a choice of what you want to run, mate.
It's going to be a close.
We never thought of that situation.
It's going to be close. This one, I think.
I think so. I think
Max
so.
will have to play a game against himself.
I don't think he can cut himself in half.
I'd rather not try.
We haven't developed the cloning technology, alas.
Moving on.
We've got at Pilot Skill 3, Unkar Plutt, who will offer his ship for 1/4 portion, or alternatively 17 points. Standard stat line, same upgrade bar, same action bar, but he does come with a pilot ability. At the end of the activation phase, you must assign a tractor beam token to each ship you are touching. And conveniently, I think it comes with about a dozen tractor beam tokens just in case.
Just in case you need them. I think that's a really interesting ability.
Yeah.
Dump that tractor.
If
Reduce
you guys
the
have
agility.
already seen Max's list, which some of you has because you've voted quite nicely on it, that was something I looked at and worked it all the way through and thought tractor beams and
More tractor beams.
Ketsu Ono.
Yep.
So those you can choose one for that tractor beam to remain.
Yep.
That's
It has the crew slot, and Ketsu Onyo is only 1 point for you keep your tractor beam tokens between rounds. And this could potentially hit something with 2 tractor beams in a single go with the unique modification we'll get to in a bit.
I think Unkar's pretty solid for 17 points, and I think he's
Nice
going
blocker.
He's going to be a good blocker, and again, he is going to effectively have a Biggs-like effect on the game because people are going to want to get him off the board
Because
before
that
they
is
run into
just
him.
irritating.
yeah.
And with that dial and with the barrel roll,
Yeah.
the number of places he can be,
Yeah.
particularly if you then decide that you're going to stick a pattern analyzer on him, so you can go in reverse and then barrel roll.
Which is exactly what Mr. Max Bull has done here. I
Pattern Analyzer is a
didn't
really
think about
nice
that one.
card.
I didn't think about that one when I was building it, and then I saw what your list was. Like, why didn't I see that?
Yeah. You can go backwards, you can still do your action.
You go
something like
backwards,
barrel
you
roll,
reverse into
or-
them, touch them, and they receive.
Well, I mean, potentially, but mostly you're pilot skill 3, so most things are going to be flying after you.
So, what someone should do is go to a convention that Simon pegs that and get it signed.
Yes.
Yes.
So after all that shenanigans of Unkar, we should move on to the next one.
So, Pilot Skill 5, we have got Saka Plank. Same stat line, same action bar. The upgrades have an elite pilot talent added to them. We're at 18 points here, so that's only 1 point more than Unkar Plutt. For 2 extra points of pilot skill and an EPT. And the pilot ability, when defending, instead of using your agility value, you may roll a number of defense dice equal to the speed of the maneuver you executed this round.
With a 2 base, unless you've been nerfed for your agility,
Or gone speed 3.
you've got to consider that very carefully because If it's less than what you're rolling, you ain't going to choose it.
It's the weakest of the pilot skills here, I think. But it's mostly... obviously, it's mostly useful for if you've been tractored or... it doesn't affect you.
You've got the crit that's dropping your agility.
Or anything else that's causing you to lose your green dice.
Yeah, Wedge has suddenly decided to draw a bead on you.
Yes.
I'm going to do my agility roll rather than my...
I'm going to use my speed instead of my agility, because it specifically states the agility stat line.
Yeah.
So anything that causes you to drop agility, you can ignore, more or less, unless you've gone speed 1.
Yeah.
It also means that at speed 3 you're potentially rolling 3 dice, so it's... I am generally in agreement that I think this is probably the weakest of the Quadjumper pilots.
I'm not saying it's not completely useless.
I think it's got some really interesting potential.
It's not a useless ability, it's just for the ship it's on the least good one. It's also an ability that would be far too good on a ship that you'd really want it on.
Yes.
The not tremendously sensible build I've seen someone suggest for this is stick expose on it. So you strip.
So you take his
You strip your agility.
Strip your agility.
And
from
more attack dice and don't care because
yeah.
you did a nice speed maneuver.
That
is uber silly, but I like it.
It's too many points to be
It's
putting
expensive.
on this. But
That's
it's
4 points for the EPT.
But it's damn fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I want to try it at least once.
Yes.
So you do a speed 2 or above, and you go, I've got expose. I'll use my normal stat line, please.
Yeah.
No, but yeah,
I'll use my
speed.
my speed stat line rather than my
agility, which is now
stat line.
1, but I don't care because I'm not going to use it.
I'm going to use 2 instead because I did a speed 2.
Plus, it's also worth noting it's an 18-point ship that you can put a tiny mind link on. So it's another option for a tiny mind link.
That too, yeah.
Which, where you're wanting to do large numbers of ships, I think it's always handy to have another cheap option there.
Yeah. It gives more spread as well to pass that focus through. If all of them get stressed out, you just need one of them to do a green to get your focus action back through.
And conveniently, pilot skill 5, which means it syncs up nicely with most of the other scum
Guri,
ships.
Halob.
Most of the scum EPT generics as well are at pilot skill 5.
Yes, the Tensori Point Vet is a 5.
The Kirax one, the name of which temporarily escaped my...
Blackson
Ace, there we go.
Yeah. It's nice. I like it.
Potentially useful, less for the pilot ability, more for the pilot skill and the EPT slot.
But the one that sort of I think came to my eyes in terms of pilots is Constable Zuvio.
So, pilot skill 7, Constable Zuvio, shares the same stat line, the same action bar, has an EPT, comes in at 19 points, and has the pilot ability. When you reveal a reverse manoeuvre, you may drop a bomb from your front guides, including a bomb with the action header.
Cluster mines! Or proximity mine, that'd be quite handy throwing that out the front and go blat.
Yeah. I think Zuvio's really interesting.
Yeah. At high pilot skill bombs, you could veteran instinct him up to 9, and then
give your opponent the initiative, make them move first. Then I drop mines.
You drop your bomb out the front with a bombardier to make sure you don't get caught in the blast yourself.
Well, don't forget you do it before you move.
You do it before you move.
With pattern analyzer, you can then barrel roll to make sure you're beyond range.
True. And then for a pretty nasty bomber in there. Then and presumably with that you'd put in the Scavenger crane card in here so that you don't just have one shot of this.
That's exactly what I did.
This thing cannot take extra munitions.
Yes, which is something I'm slightly sad about, but there are ways around that. As you have indeed hinted at.
Potentially it could link up more than once with Scavenger Cray, or more than twice with Scavenger Cray.
As many times as you like, as long as it doesn't break.
As long as it doesn't break, which is the key thing. I think actually it might be worth actually just touching on that one very briefly, the Scavenger Crane, as we're now discussing it.
Well, we're about to get on
I think we will be getting onto that in just a moment.
Okay.
The real thing I think about Constable Zuvio is he needs to be used in a vastly different way to all of the other quad jumpers, because all the rest of the quad jumpers want to get in people's faces, get in the way, block, tractor, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
At pilot skill 7 or 9 with veteran instincts, Zuvio doesn't get as much utility out of that. So he really, I think, any build you're going for with him really is going to be hinging around that pilot ability and the ability to do bombing shenanigans.
Yes. But but with a high pilot skill, the non-action bombs, the ones that go off at the start of the combat phase, are potentially actually quite useful there. Something like a I've forgotten the one that just does face-up damage cards.
Proton bomb.
Yeah, I thought it was. I mean, it's 5 points, which is expensive, but face-up damage cards.
Yeah, it deals confirmed damage cards rather than
Confirmed face-up through shields.
Yeah,
it's quite nice.
Yeah, against
multiple things if you can get it right.
Yeah.
I think the big thing for me about the Quadjumper in general, just based on its stat line, because it's got that low defense, because it's got that low attack value, it needs to earn its keep from things other than just attacking stuff.
Well, I mean, the stat line it's obviously that it resembles most is the Type Bomber.
Yeah.
And it's got one less hull.
But with one fewer hull, and its box of tricks is a very different box of tricks.
Yeah.
But it's more of a box of tricks thing than a put it on to blast things with.
Yeah. So let's move on and let's look at the second condition card that we've seen so far.
Do we want to look at the Scavenger Crane's?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's a good point.
First of all, looking at the Quadjumper only card here, Space Tug Tractor Array. It's a modification, 2 points. As an action, choose a ship inside your firing arc at range 1 and assign a tractor beam token to it. If it is a friendly ship, resolve the effect of the tractor beam token as though it were an enemy ship.
This is a guaranteed tractor token without having to attack something.
Yeah.
And also, that means you could barrel roll yourself then potentially out of arc by...
It is an action.
Accidentally catching your friendly ships.
Yes.
With that as well, you go barrel out of arc and into something else.
Which, if that friendly ship is, say, the pilot skill 5 we just looked at, he's not going to be too worried about losing that agility.
No.
At 2 points, that takes the Jakku Gunrunner up to 17. And I think that is going to be something that is going to be a terrifying presence on the board. Because a pilot skill 1 ship that therefore is activating before everything else and getting its actions before everything else, that can just assign tractor tokens as long as it's within range 1 in arc, is really worrying. Like, if you're Sentir Fel, or if you're a TIE Defender, or if you're
a TIE Swarm, and you go, I hit the whole lot of you.
No, 1. It says just the 1.
Does it say just 1?
Choose a ship.
Okay.
But even then, if you barrel roll 1 TIE into the wrong position out of a formation, and then suddenly
the whole formation falls to pieces.
Yeah. You can put people onto obstacles. You can put people where they're going to block. It's
a very disruptive presence.
And because you're moving first, it's very likely you will proc it.
Yeah. And it's only 17 points.
Yes.
For all that. Or 19 if you want to put a pattern analyzer on there, and then you can reverse and still
do it again.
That is, it's I think going to be my go-to scum 19 points.
It's fun.
Yeah, it's a nice thing. I think
Space Tug Tractor Array has the potential to be actually a meta affecting card.
Yes.
Yeah.
So moving on from that, we'll get on to Scavenger Crane, the other modification we're looking at.
This is a bit of a wall of text, folks, so bear with me. Scavenger Crane. It's a 2-point illicit upgrade. After a ship at range 1 to 2 is destroyed, you may choose a discarded torpedo, missile, bomb, cannon, turret, or modification upgrade card that was equipped to your ship and flip it face up. Then roll 1 attack dice. On a blank result, discard Scavenger Crane.
They didn't think about grammar in that at all when they put that together, did they?
No, the grammar's fine. It's just there's so many words.
It's interesting that they don't allow censor tech
titles.
Titles, of course, would go without saying. But yeah, censors.
Oh, we're supposed to scavenge your title.
Yeah. Same with crew.
Yeah, they're dead.
They're dead. They're still
but as I said, this means that Constable Zuvio can get his bombs back.
Yes.
When things die.
And the thing that's worth noting, it's a ship, not an enemy ship. So
This
when
is
your
true.
own ships blow up, you can, in a very scum fashion, haul bits out of the wreckage to rearm yourself.
Yes.
That is exactly
Yes,
the
you can.
words.
Your loss is my gain.
Well, that is exactly the actual words that I proxied it last night against Toby. Pulled something out of the wreckage and get myself back into the fight again.
It's a delightfully scummy card.
One idea I came up with is remembering from when we had the name's going to elude me. The one for the 13 and 2400s.
Smuggling
Smuggling
department.
departments. That's the one. It's coming back to me gradually. They can then take an illicit slot.
Yes.
What
they can.
about a countermeasures scavenger crane combo? Because it says modification.
Yes, on new Chewie.
It's also
shoot to
something
get
that
it.
Z95, bam.
I think Scavenger Crane is probably not a better choice than Glitterstim on Dengaroo, but it's also something you can put on Dengaroo, so Dengar can use his countermeasures multiple turns.
Yeah.
Just in case anyone thought that Dengaroo needed anything else that might help them.
You mentioned that word, and look what the response was.
No. Give new Chewbacca the scavenger crane.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Yeah, Z95
Give new
swarm.
Chewbacca the scavenger crane. He one of your Z95s explodes. He gets a free shot and his stuff back.
The other interesting thing is on the perspective of Z95s or any other single ordnance slot scum ship that has an illicit, you basically suddenly have effectively an extra munitions option.
Or extra munitions and potentially some.
Maybe more.
Because the key wording at the end of that says, on a blank result, discard scavenger crane.
Yeah.
So you roll the dice.
You have a 50-50 chance. that you can do it again.
Focuses.
No, it's 50-50 because there's half. Oh no, yeah.
Because
there's only two
focuses.
blanks on a red die.
That's true. Yes, you're right.
Yeah.
So you have
A 25% chance
you
of
have
it going away.
You do have a 75% chance of being able to do it again.
And if it lasts more than that first break, you've then, like for example, munitions got extra munitions +1.
You've made your money back.
You've made, well, on most cards where you put that on there, like most munitions, so that's torpedoes and missiles, are most of them 2 points and above. So if it's then proccing for more than once, it's like I've saved 2 points from extra munitions and I've got another one.
I think it's very interesting. I think it has the potential to again be something that we actually see in a competitive play environment. Even if it's just, I mean, you can take a couple of like relatively cheap things that are packing homing missiles or concussion missiles or the double shot missile.
Cluster missiles.
There we go.
Yes.
It's not a huge number of points, and you could do a couple of Z95s with that and suddenly have a really meaningful threat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's move on to the rest of the stuff in the pack, and let's then start with the new condition, the other second condition card we've seen tonight, and that is a debt to pay.
So, a debt to pay is the condition card attached to a score to settle.
I was going to say, I love the naming on these. It's great.
Yeah, wonderfully flavourful. A score to settle is a unique elite pilot talent, clocking in at a whole 0 points. It's not bad. During setup, before the place forces step, choose one enemy ship and assign a debt to pay condition card to it. When attacking a ship that has a debt to pay condition, you may change one focus result to a crit result. And then a debt to pay. When attacking a ship that has the score to settle upgrade card, you may change one focus result to a crit result.
So it's saying if you forget one and you see the other one, you know it's assigned between the two. It's a nice little tie-up in that.
That's an interesting thing that it gives the same benefit to your opponent.
Yeah.
But you pick the thing of your opponent that's gaining the benefit.
I think that is going to result in some interesting.
Oh, I
decision-making.
didn't realise it went both. Sorry,
It goes both ways.
I thought it was more assigning it so you remember that they're attached together, not thinking that you attack this way, but they also have.
It goes both
the
ways.
downside is they get.
That's
the
why.
same
That's why it's 0 points. If there wasn't that downside, it would be worth points.
I was going to say that photo looks very, or the picture they've used for that looks very similar along the lines of when Han and Chewie met the.
It is. It's the Guavian Death Gang, I believe.
Yes. So.
There we go. And
if you remember,
always there with the answers.
What? I know these things.
And if you remember from episode 7, when they were counted from both sides, it was like they both had a debt to pay to both of them, and they were out to settle a score. So it makes a lot of sense.
I think it's an interesting thing. I specifically think it's a really nice, cheap way of getting the ability to semi-reliably get crits on pilots who really want it. So Marek Steele will enjoy it. Ten Num will enjoy it because they've both got a large number of shields and can assign it to something like, say, a Decimator or a Ghost and just plough some crits horrifically into it. Or, if you're 10 Num, get some unavoidable damage on otherwise high agility thing. So stick it, your 10 Num going up against Suntier Fell, enjoy.
Yeah.
All I can say is I'm going to have fun in Palpace's list. Was like, I know exactly who I'm assigning that to. Mr. Shuttle, who cannot turn around.
The shuttle is not for turning. Yeah, no, I definitely think it's interesting. I think against Fen Rao, putting that against Fen Rao, because it's like, you have got no shields, Fen Rao. One of those hits is potentially going through as a crit, and the 10 num combo, making sure you just get that critical damage through. It's nice. I like it actually.
A cheaper way of guaranteeing get those crits, admittedly against only one ship, but yeah.
As a quick minor point, there's another copy of thermal detonators in here. So if you want some thermal detonators but don't want to buy a ghost, you've got a notably cheaper option.
Well, in monetary terms, that is.
Yes.
There you go.
So, should we move on to the tech next?
Yes.
The Hyperwave comm scanner. A 1-point tech upgrade and another wall of text. At the start of the place forces step, you may choose to treat your pilot skill as 0, 6 or 12 until the end of the step. During setup, after another friendly ship is placed at range 1 to 2, you may assign 1 focus or evade token to it.
I'm thinking Imperial side with... can put that with something else. So you place that in really early in the stack. TIE Fighters or the T-70s with comms relay.
Yeah.
So you get that evade sitting on there before you even start moving. It's like win-win.
With my Imperialist, I actually went
a single point.
The opposite direction. I put Hyperwave comm scanner on everything, so everything can deploy at pilot skill 12. And because I'd gone for some other stuff from the shuttle, there were some other deployment shenanigans. But that gives you an entirely, like, you can react to your opponent's deployment.
Oh yeah. It's like I deploy at 12. I don't care where you go now.
And I think that's very valuable to players who value the importance of the turn 0 setup.
Yeah. I do think that's a really good point to make. The turn 0 is important as turn 1, turn 5, turn 10, etc. But yeah, so and the next one we got here is a crew. Bashek, I believe is his name. I'm trying to pronounce it correctly as well.
Designed by Paul Heaver.
Yep, this is the 2015 World's winning design card.
Yep.
So Bashek, 2-point crew, and it's worth noting this is the first unique crew that is not assigned to a specific faction. So any faction can take Bashek.
Yep.
When a ship that you are touching activates, you may look at its chosen manoeuvre. If you do so, its owner must rotate the dial to an adjacent manoeuvre. The ship can reveal and execute that manoeuvre even while stressed.
And there's a lot of potential things you can do with this.
It's an entire card of mind games.
Yeah.
Am I going to run into Bashek? Is Bashek going to run into me? Am I going to have to rotate my dial? Do I need to set my dial to something other than the manoeuvre I want to take this turn?
Just in
Alternatively, do I bump Bashek into my own ship intentionally so that the stressed thing can still K-turn?
Yeah, absolutely, because it's not an enemy ship, it can apply to friendly ships. Oh, that Stress Hog Y-Wing that I've got that's currently sat on 15 stress, but I'd really like to K-turn. It's fine, Bashek's about to ram you.
Yes. And now, so all of a sudden, you can still turn around without having to...
Well, it's not in range either. So you could be all the way across the board.
It's when you bump.
Oh, it's across...
It's a bump.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry,
so
ignore
if
me.
you're... if the ship you are already... The ship that is activating has to already be touching you.
Yes.
That's the important part.
Okay.
I 2 points... A world of mind games.
Yeah.
I almost threw it in my scum list because it just
It's a really interesting...
I'm going to say this. It seems like a very Max card.
It does.
I like it. I think it's...
So this card was not
It's
designed by
interesting.
Paul Heaver, it was Max Heaver. Sorry, I couldn't resist.
Interestingly, there is also a whole article on the Fantasy Flight Games website about this particular card where Paul talks through his design philosophy, why he's gone for this particular implementation. It's fantastic stuff.
If Bashek chooses to look.
Yes.
That is true. Bashek might...
So it's like, I'm going to dial something I don't want to do so I can change it. I'm not going to look.
He's great. He's just...
Yeah. If you want to be the single most annoying opponent your opponent will play all day, take Bashek.
No, Ahsoka Talo and Bashek.
Yeah.
Because he could take it.
Yeah.
Saka could take it.
She could. No, you can't kill Boshek. You can't kill him. He's just going to be irritating. No.
And last of all, we have Unkar Plutt in his crew form. He is a scum-only crew member at 1 point. After executing a manoeuvre that causes you to overlap an enemy ship, you may suffer 1 damage to perform 1 free action.
It's a nice way of doing things. It gives an action to potentially throw a tiny mind link for focus.
It's
an
got
action
some
to a
uses.
bump.
I personally think this should have been a 0-point card. Because the rebels get Chopper. Who let you take actions while stressed
For damage.
which I would say is actually a stronger ability.
Yeah.
For the same downside, I think Unkar.
Well, actually, it's you can perform it when you've bumped. So, you
With space type character array, it's not too bad.
with Chopper, you have to be stressed to proc Chopper.
Yeah.
You're more likely to be stressed than you are to bump into stuff, unless you deliberately force yourself there.
Like I think it's definitely got its uses. I can see some specific builds wanting to take it, but Ketsuonyo is 1 point.
1 point as well.
And if you're going for tractor arrays, that's probably the crew I would go for. If this had been 0 points, I would slap it on a Jakku Gunrunner that's got the tractor array and go hog wild. But I think at 1 point, and it sounds weird to say this, I think at 1 point it's an overcosted card.
So how would you undercost it? Naught.
Yeah. I could see Unkar Plutt being free and making sense.
No, Chopper makes sense at naught, so
Yeah.
Unkar Plutt makes sense at naught. That sort of kind of wraps up our Quadmaster. Oh, sorry. Yeah, it is
Quadjumper.
Quadjumper, sorry.
It's alright.
I get Jump Masters, Quadjumper, yeah.
Me, you, and the rest of the internet have been making that particular mistake.
Oh, it helps with Max's list and the Bump Jumper, but we'll move
Jumper.
past that one as well. I must admit, I do like this expansion. It's got a nice lot of ways of going things, some potential cross-factioning stuff. So you buy a Quadjumper, everyone's happy. There's at least something for someone.
It's got some nice things in there. That,
I like it.
Both sets going to have a home everywhere.
Yeah.
Plus, the model is so wonderfully ugly.
Yes. Yes. Like the YB666,
Yeah.
which is a space brick.
It's a space brick to go with the space fridge.
I see it like cans of beer almost.
Yeah, those big old big old kegs.
Kegs, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't even drink. Shock horror, everyone, as Max's list has actually taken the lead on this one.
Well,
No, Robin.
Ahead of the scum.
The Imperial list has gone ahead of the scum.
The lowest one, it was about 1 vote. The Portal one has shot ahead with 8 votes. This is the last, of course, we're doing the last ship. So after this, the votes will be finalised. So if you've yet to vote, get those votes in now.
Yes.
I will post the link in the chat once again.
Yeah, and as we've already stated, you do get 2 votes, but they can't be for the same commentator. It's
Much as
very
we'd like to
close.
see all of Max's list.
Actually, it's still a good point to note. With all these votes that have come in, Max is still the only one who's had votes for every single one of his lists. Where Rob and I have got ones that haven't.
I'm not entirely sure what to say about that.
Feel honoured. You're loved. By
It's
by
your
everyone.
mad genius showing through yet
It
again.
is. The bump jump. The
Bump jumper.
bump master. So let's get on to the last ship here. It's the Upsilon. I can't just saying it that way. Upsilon shuttle, which is obviously made infamous from Kylo Ren in episode 7. So there's quite a lot of stuff looking at episode 7 in this, where you've got the Quadjumper. I will get it right this time, and now Kylo's shuttle.
Shuttle.
It's huge.